Ready? Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to our Committee of the Whole meeting for Wednesday, February 18th, 2026. I will now call the meeting to order and acknowledge that we are in Mi'kma'ki, the ancestral and unceded territory of the Mi'kmaq people. Administrative and procedural issues, 2.1, approval of the agenda for today's meeting. Entertain a motion to approve the agenda as presented unless there are any changes. Seeing none, moved by Councillor Strong, seconded by Councillor Fromm. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Thank you very much. I will also turn your attention to the municipal conflict of interest, whereby members are required to declare a conflict prior to any discussion on the matter. Approval of the minutes. The recommended motion is that the minutes of the January 21st, 2026 regular Committee of the Whole meeting be approved as presented. Moved by Councillor Lee and seconded by Deputy Mayor Gould. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Motion is carried. And before we run off to a business arising, I'd like to acknowledge our special guest in the back of the gallery this afternoon, Jason Hahn, and also the members in the gallery from the animal shelter that are doing their presentation here in a couple of minutes. And thank you for coming and welcome. On to the business arising. Mr. Herrick, go ahead.
Thank you, Your Worship. A little upset that Jason Hahn came before me, but that's okay. Business arising is at page 9 of Council's information package. There are 6 items, and pleased to say that they're all complete, and happy to answer any questions that Council might have.
Thank you very much, sir. Any questions from Council on that? Hearing none, we'll move along. 2.5 public hearings. We're going to skip a couple of those for a second here, and we're going to go to 2.53, which is a presentation from the Lillian Albin Animal Shelter. If you guys would like to come forward, then Mr. Casey, be good, and introduce yourself. And I will warn you that you have 15 minutes. And Mr. Herrick will be on the timer, so we'll give you a 1-minute warning if you get to 14 to make your pitch.
Things that don't surprise me.
And welcome back. I guess
Thank you.
Saw you last year about this.
Thank you very much. Yes, I think the last time we were here, we were asking for money, which may surprise you. So we're pleased to be with you once again. And I'm joined by some esteemed members from the LA Animal Shelter Board. First of all, we want to thank the municipality for the support that you've given the shelter. As you probably know, the shelter has completed a major capital project and finished on time and on budget its new facility on the Smith Road. Operating from the new building, and without your help, that may well not have happened. So thank you so much for your support as we sort of made sure that the shelter will be passed on to the next generation in a building that will stand the test of time. The purpose of our presentation today is to talk about the partnership or the agreement that the shelter has in place with the municipality. I have before me a memorandum of understanding that was completed in August of 2010, which sort of spells out the a very successful arrangement that's been in place since then regarding services provided by the shelter and to the community, and for lack of a better word, a compensation agreement from the municipality to the shelter for those services. And I probably don't need to tell anybody here that costs have gone up a little bit in the last 16 years. And so we wanted to just talk about the compensation agreement that's in place today, and respectfully ask that we, that it be reviewed and with consideration of increasing it to reflect the increased cost of delivering the services in the agreement, and also the increases in the volumes being, the volume of activity in the shelter as well. So the two things I guess I would underline would be, number one, the costs have gone up, and number two, the services have increased in terms of volume. So essentially, the shelter is, I would say, firing on all cylinders in terms of fundraising, of volunteerism. We're really working on our, towards our strategic goals in the new building of making it a real community hub as well. So currently looking to hire a new full-time manager with the objective that they could sort of take on a greater role in seeking grants and fundraising opportunities. And also, last time we were here, we talked about how the shelter can become not, grow beyond its role of serving animals as it's done for many years very successfully, but also become a hub in the community where students can come to enjoy the grounds and interact with the animals, and it's a very important community asset. So I guess what I want to talk about is, what the shelter does for the community as well, because in terms of value for your dollars, I think it's fair to say that the shelter delivers a pretty good bang for your buck in terms of the services that provide. So we would always say, and we would have said this in our presentation to council last time we were here, that for every animal that the shelter helps, we're really helping a family or a person, right? So, if there's a human story behind every interaction that the shelter does, every transaction that it does. And the key benefits I would just mention, because we only have 15 minutes, and well, yield back your time. No. The controlling of the pet population obviously is an important one. The shelter, if you look back, and actually I didn't have numbers going all the way back to 2010, but it's sort of been a hockey stick, like parabolic move in terms of volume and in terms of animals surrendered since then. So I went as far back as 2019, where I could easily see that there were 167 dogs surrendered that year, 625 in 2024, 592 in 2025. So very high volume of activity versus where we were in 2010. There are also some other very important community programs that we don't talk a lot about, and just by their very nature, they're not something that we advertise, on a specific basis. But the shelter has a Safe Pet program, for example, which is one that is a partnership with the Autumn House. That program is designed to get women out of abusive relationships in ensuring that their pet can be can make a safe transition as well. There's a statistic from the Ontario SPCA that shows that 50% of women may well delay making a move for their own safety out of a situation like that if they can't also ensure their pet safety as well. So there is, that's just one example of a very important community program, a service that's provided that you wouldn't necessarily hear about. But I think one that's worth mentioning just as an example of the kind of work that goes on that sort of happens behind the scenes. We want to make sure that councillors know that when we ask for a review of that funding agreement, when we're looking for more money, it's not because we're relying on this as a crutch for fundraising. The shelter has been a very, very successful machine in terms of raising money independently, and that bears out in the numbers. Fundraising is up 24% year over year. You're probably aware of some of these, but some very innovative new ways of trying to raise money for the operations in the shelter. And this is after, I would also say, a very time-consuming and a big effort to raise over $1 million for the capital campaign. So now, pivoting back to operations, back to business as usual, absolutely not letting up at all to make sure that the operations are still funded well. Bonnie's online auction raised $27,000 last year, just as an example. We have our lottery tree, we have calendars, we have a massive yard sale annually. There's a new 50/50 online raffle box program that's been really picking up steam, and we have very high expectations on that. We have our annual gala, which raises between $15,000 and $20,000 a year. We have a spring tea, which raises a handful of thousands of dollars, and the list kind of goes on, and I think there were some, it was a Valentine's Day one where you could put your ex-boyfriend or ex-girlfriend's name in a cat litter box as well, which I think was quite successful. no last names, just first names. What I'm saying is that there's no slack in terms of the volunteers' fundraising efforts. So this isn't replacing anything. It's really just a reflection of the increased volume of services being provided at the shelter and also the increased costs. I probably don't need to get into the nitty-gritty on the cost side of things because it's pretty well known, but what I didn't know, but I looked up some statistics on this. Pet food inflation is up by 25 to 30% since COVID, for example. Vet costs have doubled between 2008 and 2020. Very significant inflation in some of those services. And I'm actually not saying that as a reflection of our local vet relationships, because they've been wonderful in terms of like partnering with us to work with us on costs and things. But as a general comment, the cost of veterinary care has increased drastically. Wage costs, as you well know, are up a lot. Minimum wage over that period, I think, is up 79% since 2010. Insurance costs are higher, and the list goes on. And if you look at the services that are in the agreement in our contract, just word for word, and I won't read every last bit of it, but speaking to those inflationary things I mentioned, the shelter's responsibility in the agreement is to provide pound services, and that includes shelter, food, water, hygiene for dogs, veterinary care, transportation of dogs, euthanization of dogs in some cases, finding suitable homes for dogs, and those services, if you kind of break down each one, will include the cost of food, the cost of labor. If you're looking at adopting out the animals, you're looking at the cost of veterinary care, obviously heating the building and paying the staff. All that stuff, clearly has gone up in cost since 2010. So the current arrangement, and this is, I know this has evolved somewhat because originally it was $15,000 from the county, and since the municipality absorbed the town of Spring Hill, I think it's increased to $23,000. So obviously we're prepared to send a more formal letter to the CAO with the request, but for your consideration, for your budget deliberations, we're thinking that an increase from $23,000 to $35,000 would be fair. And we're just asking that you think about it in the context less of as a grant and more as a service, the services that are being provided. There is a benefit to the county and the municipality rather, and we're suffice to say, I think fair to say, on behalf of the shelter, excited to continue to provide that essential service to your citizens, and I think I've covered most everything, but I'm happy to answer any questions you have.
Awesome. Thank you very much, Mark.
Thank you.
Anyone have any questions? Was that a hand up? No? Thought it was. No question.
Oh, I have one.
Deputy Mayor is
I'll
going
let-
to
I'll let
chime in
Fred
here
go.
first.
Not-
Go ahead.
Not a question, just more of a comment. I have served on the board. I'm currently not on the board anymore, but I can vouch for the amount of work that the board puts in and the dedication that the board has towards making this a very viable place for people to use, and the service that is provided there. And the building, if you haven't seen it yet or haven't been out there, is a beautiful building. And thank you to the board and to all the volunteers and the workers and staff out there that do such a great job. So just mention that. Thanks.
Thank you very much.
Perfect.
Deputy
Thank you.
Mayor. Mr. Herrick?
Thank you. My question is about your agreement with the town of Amherst, and can you talk about how much they were paying and what you've asked them to pay?
I can.
I thought you might be able to.
Well, since you asked, not that I had it at my fingertips.
No, of course not. No, of course not.
So very similar memorandum is in place for the town of Amherst, signed at the same time, basically. The town of Amherst has has a $10,000 per year compensation of $10,000 per year going to the shelter. We have requested an increase to $25,000. So
25 or 225?
to 25. So from 10 to 25,000. So you'll be happy to know that the request we're making of you is much lower in terms of, yeah, right, yes, relatively lower in terms, and I think, knowing the volume of requests you have, we understand it's not an easy one to balance all the requests you have and all the commitments you have. But obviously it's a much larger catchment area as well, right? So, but the increase is less than we're asking of the town of Amherst, just because the starting point is higher. So, yeah.
Thank you. Go ahead, Sheriff.
I'm sure you have this information too. So you talked about the number of animals surrendered. Do you have that broken down between municipal units, or is it just a bulk number received at the shelter?
I don't have that information at my fingertips, but we may have some more insight in the gallery.
You can provide it later.
Sure.
But that's
Yeah.
it's something that I'll probably want
Yep.
to ask. Yep. Okay.
Councillor Lee.
Your worship, thank you. Just a quick question, just for my own curiosity. Your overall average operating cost, what does
Just,
that look like?
well,
Yeah.
in terms of just the operations of the shelter?
Yes, please.
We are looking at right around $357,000 in 2025.
Your worship, thank you.
Anyone else? Thank you. Oh,
50 what?
357.
All good. Mark, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Nice to see you again.
Yeah, nice to see you.
And,
Thank you for your time. And I would also just say,
And I'll remind you to get your letter of request into the CAO.
most
please.
certainly, most certainly. And our esteemed president, Bonnie Graham, will be sending the letter, and I'm merely the pitch man. Anyway, thank you. Thanks,
Thank you very
everybody.
much, folks.
Mark,
Much thanks
if you
for
could,
coming in.
if you could send a financial statement with request, I'll ask for it anyway, so
Yeah.
it'll be easier if you just
We'll
send it.
we'll do that.
Good.
Thank you.
For sure.
Awesome.
Thanks
Thanks very
very
much,
much.
folks. Thank you. Thank you. Appreciate it. So, very good. Okay, so we'll take this one off there.
Thanks.
And we gotta go back, Mr.
Yep.
2.5.1, public hearing bylaw to amend the LUB 26-01 to rezone PID 2524-4914, 150 Junction Road. Director Boone, I'll get you in the chair, and then I'll go find the rules for the public hearings that are buried in here somewhere. Where are they? There they are, right there. Look at that. So,
Thank you, Your Worship. We're ready.
So I'll now call the public hearing to order and advise that the public hearing is being held in accordance to the provisions of the Municipal Government Act, and that the purpose of the public hearing is to provide the public with the opportunity to express their views on certain proposals prior to council making a decision. Now I will ask Mr. Boone to provide a presentation on the proposed amendment. Go ahead, sir.
Thank you, Your Worship. Detailed report in respect to the public hearing is in the council package, and we have a brief presentation on the screen that I'll go through, and then be happy to answer any questions or ask for any clarification. And should any member of the public be here to ask or questions, I will try to answer those as well. I will advise that the applicant could not get here today. He messaged us early this morning. Had two challenges in respect to both work, and obviously he does some community volunteering, and he's a successful hockey coach, and he had to get a game he wasn't expecting tonight, so playoff time, I guess. So just to let you know.
To ask a question because I just realized the address of this property, is that the old liquor store property in Spring Hill?
It is. So we use the Civic that's still assigned to the property.
Yes, I gotta get it here.
Yeah.
So Mayor Gilroy's declaring a
Conflict.
conflict of interest due to a business interest, and Deputy Mayor Gould will chair the meeting until Mayor Gilroy returns.
Continue, Mr. Boone. Thank you.
Mr. Chair, thank you. This is the property at 150 Junction Road. The PID is identified. Just as information, this is the former NSLC site. It's probably replaced, probably close to 20 years now, because I had a hand in where the new NSLC is in a previous life. And this property has been on the market for some time, so it's good to see the potential of bringing it back into commercial use. So commercial driveway approval would be subject to MCC Public Works. We have had conversations with Director Wakress on this, both for servicing and for access, so those details will come when the applicant moves forward to development and building permits. So the current property is zoned mixed use, so C-mix zone, and the potential is to bring it to commercial general, or general commercial, sorry, and it's to allow for the development of self-storage. Mr. Chair, the reason we looked at doing this zone, it is adjacent to several properties that are industrially zoned, but where it's fronting on the main street and there is C-mix zones to the south of the property, we felt a little bit more control on the type of uses that can go in the general commercial zone, so that was the decision made. You can see just, sorry Peter, I just go back for 1 sec, sorry about that. Just to the north, you can actually see where the industrial use is. That's where Benjamin's plant is, and just down and to the right, it would have been where the former Lamp Cavern Tavern would have been. I think the CAO and Councillor Lockhart know where that was, but I'll just, heard about it. But it's just, in general, this area has been somewhat commercial and industrial is the point I'm trying to make, because that joke went over badly with the CAO, but that's okay. Yeah. So I'm going to move to the proposed project. So a very simplified site plan to the left on the screen. And what we look for is for the proponent to give us at least some flavor of what the development looks like so folks can see it. And the more detailed site plans come at the development permit stage. But initially, it's to look at just doing 2 self-storage buildings, each 20 by 80. There would be some parking required, even though there's not going to be a office on site. Commercially designated area already, and the adjacent zone, as I mentioned before, mixed use to the south and kind of surrounded by industrial on all the other sides. So we feel this is kind of a project that makes sense for this property, and we'll talk a little bit more about that as we go through here. So just a little bit of some street shots. We use these off Google because if I took them in the last few weeks, we would see nothing but snow. We did, visit the site as well. Kira and I have both been by the site. And there was some work done with some ditching. I think last year, or maybe the year after, there was some work done to improve the stormwater in front of the site. It's a fairly straight stretch of road. As I mentioned, we're already working with Public Works on the components with regards to access and services, and it's well screened from the properties that are nearby. So any of the residential uses you see more towards the center of the community are quite a bit of buffering between that and where this development would go. So this is the proposed zoning map. As you can see, to the right, that is the area that we would change from the commercial, into the commercial general from the C-mix. So we bolded that out, and you can see all the industrial lands around it. But as I mentioned before, the most appropriate zone we felt, because of the adjacencies of the C-mix and because of its presence on the main entry, or one of the main entries into the community, that this was the best option for the rezoning. So some implications here. Community engagement, this is a public hearing, was duly advertised per the MGA. We did place the notices as required on the website 2 weeks prior. We also put an ad in the Herald. We shared that ad between this and the next application. And there's a planning notice put up on the property. So those commitments were made as per the Act. The environmental, no concerns anticipated. As I've already mentioned, water and sewer is all done through Central Water and Sewer. So those conversations have been had with Public Works. And should commercial restrooms or an office be built here in the future, then they would have to put those services in place, and that office would be to building code. But right now, there's no plans to do that. So no direct financial implications to the municipality. Any of the service connections that happen in the future would go through that process. Same as building permits. As I always mention with new commercial developments, obviously going to change the assessment on the site, so potential for new tax revenue. So, Mr. Chair, there is no motions to consider, as this is the public hearing stage, and I'll allow you to ask some questions.
Thank you. So first I'll ask if there's been any written submissions from the public.
Mr. Chair, I've confirmed with both planning staff and the deputy clerk that we had received no submissions. I did have one general inquiry just today based on the sign. That was an internal inquiry, just asking about what the potential use is, so I confirmed that with the internal inquiry from Public Works. So other than that, that was the only, I know I said there was no public comments, but there was just an internal question today, and that satisfied the concern raised.
Thank you, and I'm not seeing any, but is there anybody from the public present that would like to speak on the matter?
Mr. Chair, we didn't have anybody asked to speak, so no comments, but we didn't have any inquiries to speak. But the hearings are always open, as you know, so we can anticipate people just showing up, and that's part of the process.
Okay, and you have nothing, no additional comments to add to this on behalf of the participant, the applicant?
The applicant did say if there was particular questions on the project that they, you could share those or ask us of us here at the public hearing, and we'd make sure they're addressed before we look at a second reading, and we would answer those in the second reading report. So that's been the conversation with the applicant. They see it as a need in the community to have self-storage. It doesn't really exist, and I think this is an opportunity to see a commercial piece of land put in back in useful production, and it's a good location in the respect to what their business plan is, but also what we think as staff as well.
Thank you. And is there any additional questions from councilors? Councilor Lockhart.
That's more of a comment. I just want to say I think this is very positive. Coming into town, the old site there with all fell in is not very unsightly looking, and I think this will be very positive. Plus, I believe there is a need for that in Spring Hill, so I'm very supportive of this project and glad it's moving forward. Thank you.
Any additional comments? Seeing none, now close the public hearing.
So now we will conduct another public hearing. 2.5.2 is a bylaw to amend the LUB 26-02 to rezone a portion of PID 2514-4049-3544 Callback Road, Port Howe. Mr. Boone is present, so I will now advise that the public hearing is being held according to the provisions of the Municipal Government Act, and that the purpose of the public hearing is to provide the public with the opportunity to express their views on certain proposals prior to council making a decision. I will now call the public hearing to order. Mr. Boone, go ahead.
Thank you, Worship. I just want to note that I'm not trying to steal a spotlight from our planner, Kira. She's dealing with a couple of issues with regards to the plan review, so that's why she's not here for the meeting today. So I'm going to present this one as well. As you noted, Your Worship, this is a rezoning. The PID is before you on the site, and this property actually has a short-term rental through a park model trailer. So 3544 is the general civic number for the whole property, which is quite a large parcel. So just wanted to clarify that. So as you can see in the air photo to the upper left, this property, the area in green or shown as the open field, that's the area we're looking at and considering for the rezoning. But the parcel is actually quite large, and it runs right down to the brook and the little inlet off of the River Phillip, but also it has frontage on the River Phillip. And you can see on the lower right-hand corner where we zoomed in on the PID, there are a couple of other properties that are adjacent. They have a right-of-way that folks travel to get to their waterfront cottage properties. They're more seasonal type properties. So the land clear equals the approximate size of the rezoning you can see on the site. What we've made sure is in the rezoning, it gives a little bit of room that gets us past the buffer. What we're going to look for a buffer on this. From the lower left on the air photo. So the rezoning will go into that tree line, so that allows the development to maintain that tree line, as well as we've made sure it's encompass the right-of-ways as well. So this is in Port Howe, as I mentioned. It's going from agricultural to commercial rec, which is the zone that would be required to develop the campground. So it's only a portion of the PID, Your Worship, that I just want to re-stress and re-establish that with council. So this is again, a proposed project site plan. What we try to do at this stage, prior to actual development permits, we ask and work with the applicant and their consultants, if they have one, to give a concept of what would potentially happen in the initial phases. So the owner is only planning at this point to start with 5 sites. The one in red is the existing park model that's there. So these will be 5 new sites, and once we get to 5 sites, then it goes outside of being a short-term rental. It becomes essentially a campground by definition. And so under this rezoning, but, 20 campsites you can do by right, but you require the zone in order to do that. So even though the initial phase is only 5, it does require the rezoning to take place. The number of campgrounds to start would be in the portions, about a 5-acre parcel that we're looking at rezoning, combined with lot coverage requirements. The campground expansion would still only happen within that 5-acre parcel over time. Communal waste collection facility or a common washroom is the plan. We're not looking at doing developments that do off-grid camping. That's been kind of what we've talked to about a number of applicants. You may remember that we have had some other applications before considering off-grid, and we are discouraging that and not actually approving that through the development process. So it made it very clear to the applicant that they would have to have common washrooms in place. The applicant has initiated a conversation with Nova Scotia Department of Public Works with respect to driveway access. So you can see just above the area says potential future growth area. You can see the right-of-way that comes into the property now and heads towards the riverfront properties. We're not feeling that that's an access point that's going to get approved by the Department of Highways just because of its location. So they're working with them to find another access along that frontage. We don't have any issues with access as long as it's been approved by Department of Highways or Public Works in this question. So I just want to note that that is part of the process, and no development or building permits, if required, would be issued without that being confirmed. And we're asking them to try to get us as much of that approval process completed before we bring it back to council for second reading, Your Worship. So again, we use some summertime shots here. We did get some winter ones just to show what things are looking like as far as current, because sometimes the Google Street shots can be a little dated, but these Google Street shots are pretty accurate to what's out there. To the lower right, you can see that access point. It looks nice and clear and straight, but as you leave that, you get into a corner real quick. So that's why we're asking them to get Public Works aligned and find an access point that can work into the proposed development. So just giving you a perspective, a little bit of the neighborhood as well. Thank you, Peter. So this is the proposed zoning map. We've got very specific here. As you can see that the agricultural zone also touches on the flood hazard zone. So this redevelopment, as we had mentioned at the first reading, what's important to do it because today is the public hearing, the rezoning would not touch the flood hazard zone. So that's why that zoning line looks quite articulated in the brown, because it's following and avoiding anything going into the flood hazard zone. And again, as I mentioned, we've made sure that to the south, that commercial recreation zone would actually take in that area of trees, so that allows them to create that buffer. Even though it's the rest of the land is theirs, we're wanting to make sure that they have that land to keep that separation. Because as you know, Your Worship, land does sell and people ownership does change, right? So implications, community engagement, we have followed the MGA as far as advertisements on this. Your Worship and members of council, all of the advertisements were done as per the dates required. We did advertise this in the paper, and we did have a sign placed on the property. It was a little later going up than we normally do, but we didn't have any direct calls on that, even though the signage was up. Environment, as I mentioned before, it's along the River Phillip, so there is a required 15-meter buffer from the ordinary high water mark, but the proposed development isn't getting close to the river and this phase, and what area is being considered for rezoning. Service is not required for each individual campsites, but we did already talk about the washroom, so that's part of the project, and they have been in contact with the Nova Scotia Environment and Climate Change with regards to on-site sewage disposal, and that would be required before they got a development permit and a building permit anyways in this case. Just quickly, no direct financial implications to the municipality. The rezone portion of the lot could generate some new commercial tax assessment, as I normally like to note to council. And no motions considered at this time because it's the public hearing stage. Thank you.
Mr. Boone. Have there been any written submissions received on this one?
Nothing that I'm aware of, your worship. We did check Plan Cumberland, and I checked with the deputy clerk as well, so none that I'm aware of. And just to mention that the applicant runs his own business, so he wasn't able to come today, but same as I mentioned before, he's happy to answer any questions.
And I see no one here from the public at present to present, so we'll move along. And were there any additional comments from the applicant on this at all?
We checked in with them this morning, and Kira has checked in with them throughout this process. Nothing new other than they're still working with highways on that access point. I think that's kind of a key for us. So again, no development permit, no building permits would be approved without that. And we do require that the washroom facility be as part of the development. So again, that requires on-site sewage disposal system approved. So lots of acreage in the development. We don't have too many concerns. Could be a specialized design just where there's going to be multiple folks using it, but the trailers or the RVs would not be hooked up to it directly. So it would be a common washroom shower facility is the plan.
Good. And any questions or comments from council? Councilor Fromm, followed by Deputy Mayor Gould. Go ahead.
Your worship, so there's going to be a washroom facility there. Will they have like a sewage disposal for the campers, like where they pull up and?
It's not required, sorry, your worship, back to Councilor Fromm. It's not required. It's something we're considering in the plan review is to have what I'll refer to as a dump station that would be connected to the system. It's not required in the bylaw now, but it's something we're considering as part of the plan review. So the on-site sewage disposal system would be connected to the common washroom. And, you know, folks still have their holding tanks on their RVs and would have to dump those at an approved station. The idea behind not avoiding the common washroom is that then the challenge is that the RVs themselves, the holding tanks get more strained, and then there's an opportunity for maybe them not to be disposed of the way we'd like to see. So that's the reason we're requiring the on-site common washrooms for showers and facilities. So brown and gray water both can, the majority of it can go into the sewage system that the applicant puts in place.
Councilor Fromm, you okay? Okay. Deputy Mayor Gould.
Thank you, Your Worship. I think you already answered this question, but on the map that we have, the blue line that goes all the way around, that's the flood hazard zone, is it? The line?
It's kind of a jagged line, so it would follow the small inlet that comes off the river, and there's a brook there. There's actually a culvert there just by that, near that driveway. And so the kind of ragged edge that follows along would be the flood hazard zone. Your Worship, back to the Deputy Mayor, so
Thank
correct.
you.
Awesome. Councilor Tilling, go ahead.
On that same attachment A zoning map change, there seems to be PID numbers that are in the water. Is that normal along rivers, or?
Mr. Boone.
Yeah, thank you, Your Worship. Back to Councillor Hotelling. The PIDs are mapped as per the original lots, so often the PIDs can have a portion of them in the water. It's probably common along the North Shore now, but those PIDs are not part of the application. So those PIDs would exist whatever way the coastline along the river is changed, but the flood hazard zone basically comes up to that inlet. So everything beyond that is the required 15-meter setback. So anything that they look to do with the major part of this property in the future would have to adhere to that. But the initial property or project is not going down onto the river itself, and up where the commercial rec zone is proposed, that is all outside that flood hazard zone. So none of this change would impact the flood hazard, if that makes it clear. But those PIDs are not owned by this applicant. They just have right-of-ways across the land to get to it. But it's not unusual to have some PIDs that some of that PID does not exist anymore because of erosion and changes over time.
Okay.
Thank you. I was
Yeah. We can dig into that a little bit more, but not maybe relevant to the application right now, but we can certainly do that.
Mr. Harrop.
Thank you, Your Worship. Just a quick question. If memory serves, council did a rezoning in that area just north of there before Eel Creek. Is that the name we're giving that body of water?
I think the rezoning would have gone the opposite way. It was just before my time. It's the one that exists on your drive back towards Oxford.
Yeah. There's a new campground there. We just did that a year or two ago.
No, I'm not talking about
Oh,
Nan and
sorry,
Papa's wilderness campground. Isn't, heading toward the bridge from this location, heading to Port Howe.
Oh, yeah.
Wasn't there another rezoning there? That would
Yes.
have been just as you, it's kind of in that corner, just as you start to see the bridge.
Yeah, yeah.
And I was just wondering about congestion and traffic and that sort of,
Okay.
that's my question.
Yeah, so your worship, we did a similar rezoning, but the plan for that, which hasn't advanced, the plan for that was actually short-term rentals, so cottages. But I think there's enough gap between these two as far as that access. And that would be one of the things, back to the CAO, your worship, one of the things DOT or now Public Works would consider, if there's going to be two commercial driveways, the distance between them. But my understanding, they haven't raised that flag yet, but that would be part of their process for there.
Go ahead.
Follow up to that. So, Public Works, Department of Public Works.
Yes.
Would be aware of the rezoning that we did previously and the potential for development
Yeah.
just north. They would be aware of that in considering the approval?
Yes. Yes. Your worship, back to the CEO, absolutely, and the reason I know that is when the last proponent did that project on the upper side of the road, Department of Public Works, I think there was still transportation at the time, required that applicant to move their actual access point. So the driveway, the CEO might remember that we actually put up a sign there one day. You told me it was the most expensive sign ever put up for a planning project, but that's okay. So we were out to visit the site and a couple of others. So that driveway there where we put the sign, because of its location, actually moved more towards the south or towards Oxford. And they required that, so they were aware of that project, and I hope they keep both aligned, so, yeah.
Interesting. No, this property certainly, from a DOT perspective, does have some challenges. There's no question about that. I'm very familiar with the lay of the land, and probably 3 owners back, I was involved in the sale of that property at one point in time, so I'm very familiar with it. So, yeah,
Okay.
it does have some serious challenges in that regard, so.
Yep.
Awesome.
So your worship, the only thing I'd say about that, as I mentioned earlier, that we would likely want to have some more clarity on that before we came back to second reading. So that's kind of been our plan and our push to the applicant all along, so.
I think that would be a wise process.
Yep.
Mr. Boone. And no other comments or questions from council? I'll now close the public hearing. Thank you very much, Mr. Boone. Appreciate the work. You want something there? No. Okay, you're good. He's acting up over there again. There are no organizational policy or bylaw items for today's meeting. Business issues 4.1. We were just warming up. I just realized you were warming up. Okay, there you go. Accessibility Advisory Committee Terms of Reference. Mr. McCracken will lead us through this. Go ahead, sir.
Thank you, Worship. As you know, we have an accessibility committee and accessibility plan. Bringing forward to committee of the whole a new terms of reference for consideration. The previous, or the existing committee's term was for a year, and they were focused on the development of the accessibility plan. Now we've reached that milestone, and we want to transition into more of a monitoring role for the committee. So there's a draft terms of reference that reflects that role in your package. If you look at page 29, that's where we are. So municipalities must develop an accessibility plan as legislated by Bill 59, the Accessibility Act, and appoint the committee to create and monitor these 3-year plans. So this committee's main roles will be to monitor the implementation of the plan, continue to advise council on the creation of a refreshed accessibility plan for April 2028, advise council on the impact of municipal services, policies, and procedures as it relates to accessibility, and when asked by the municipality in collaboration with the community engagement coordinator, consult with the community on accessibility issues and provide input into campaigns, events, and so on. Once the terms of reference are approved, we'll begin the recruitment of a new committee, and certainly anybody on the existing committee is welcome to apply to be on this new 2-year term. There is a terms of reference in your package and a recommended motion for consideration.
Thank you very much, Mr. McCracken. The recommended motion is that council forward the amended terms of reference for the Accessibility Advisory Committee to the February 25th, 2026 regular council meeting for consideration. If someone would like to make the motion, moved by Councilor Strong, seconded by Councilor Hotelling. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Thank you very much. Motion is carried. 5.1, external reports and committee minutes. 5.1, the Cliffs of Fundy Geopark. 5.2, the Community Health Navigator. 5.3, the Cumberland Business Connector. 5.4, the Cumberland Public Libraries. And 5.5, the Solid Waste Management reports are all included in your package for today for your reading pleasure at a later point. 6, internal updates, reports, and committee minutes. My favorite thing. This is always fascinating to listen to all this. 6.1, Administration Department Monthly Report. Mr. McCracken, go ahead.
Thank you, Worship. The administration January report begins on page 43. Just a few highlights. Lots happening in human resources, communications. I'll jump down to occupational health and safety. In the future, we want to bring a work alone policy forward to council for consideration sometime down the road. As part of that, we're doing some hazard assessments of all our positions in the municipalities, particularly those who work alone. So many of our employees are in situations where they need to work alone, and so we want to ensure that we have their safety and good communication in mind. So part of that is sort of knowing what they're doing on the job, what situations they're in when they're working alone. Then we can put a policy in place and a plan in place that helps address those safety concerns. If you turn the page over in information technology, a couple of milestones there. Computer lifestyle management, so life cycle management, not lifestyle, life cycle management. So we have a good inventory now on our computer and cell phone inventory. So it's been a long time sort of gathering that information, and we can use this now to forecast our budgets and how many hardware devices that we're going to replace over the next number of years. So that's really helpful for leadership when we're doing budget decisions. And the same with software. We've conducted a very detailed licensing inventory, so we can now say Department X spends X amount of dollars on licensing, and we can assign that dollar value to that department for budgeting purposes as well. So it doesn't sound overly sexy, I guess, but it's a lot of data collection and really great information to help us do some budgeting in the future. And finally, I'll just draw your attention to, hopefully you've been on our website and our social media sites of late. We've had a great response to a social media campaign around Spotlight on Spring Hill Singing Miner, Maurice Ruddick. And so that's part of African Heritage Month. If you haven't seen any of that, I encourage you to go on their website and scroll back in our social media, particularly the Facebook, some great things that are happening to celebrate African Heritage Month. Any questions? I'm happy to take them, Your Worship.
Thank you very much, Mr. McCracken. Any questions on that report? Seeing none, we'll move right along. 6.2, Development and Planning Department Month Report. Director Glenn Boone. Go ahead, Mr. Boone.
Thank you, Your Worship. Obviously, the report is in your package. I'll make a couple of quick highlights and then be happy to answer any questions. Under the planning section, one thing I'll highlight a note is we've been involved with a project looking at dikeland resilience, and that's some things that are led by St. Mary's and Climb Atlantic as an organization. So we've been asked to kind of monitor that. It's not led by us, but there's some work that's being done on the dikelands, and some of that's being pushed by the Nova Scotia Department of Agriculture because they oversee the Marshlands Act. So we're just keeping our fingers in the pie so we can be aware of what's happening. Mentioned the plan review. I know that some councillors have already been to some sessions. We've had to do some reorganization because of the weather, but just to remind folks, tomorrow we have rescheduled and it's been advertised for a little bit. Tidnish at the Fire Hall, 9:30 to 10:30, 12:30 to 1:30 at the Wallace Community Hall, and then at the Pugwash Library from 3 to 5 p.m. So those are reset and they have been promoted on socials and on the website. but just wanted to remind folks why we're here. The whole process has been going quite well. I will send an update to council in respect to an online survey that council is welcome to fill out, but also to encourage residents to fill out. Under economic development, we did meet with QIMC, which is the company doing the hydrogen exploration in the Advocate area. We're looking to get a little bit more information from them. They have posted some information on the provincial government website with regards to the exploration. The site's a little difficult to maneuver, Your Worship, but we're still working with the company to make sure we keep connected. Have reminded them that development that happens above the ground on private property will go through the municipal planning process and would be part of council's considerations. It's something we're looking at under the plan review. And then just to note, there's at the bottom of the economic development section, there's another blog that Eileen created with regards to rock hounding and some of the stuff that happens in our geological-based tourism. Some great things to see. Eileen recently posted a story with regards to Cumberland resident Brian Hebert, who now has a dinosaur named after him. So I think that's information that you can follow on your own. And just with regards to permanent inspections, it's only been 1 month or so, but we're seeing already a strong start to the year. And as I mentioned, probably in the January report, 24 and 25 as calendar years is how we've been measuring this. Seem to be showing us the new norm, but I'll talk more about that in a year if we have the same permit numbers. Happy to answer any questions.
Thank you very much, Mr. Boone. Any questions from council? I'm looking at this graph on page 48, and the month of October, dwelling starts comparison. That's a very, very lofty spot. I see that red spot in there, Mr. Boone. It proves the point that you've been very busy.
The team has been. One thing I failed to mention is, but I mentioned in the budget presentation earlier today, we have 2 new building official trainees in place, so we're going to need them.
Looks like it. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Boone. 6.3, Finance Department Monthly Report. Amy Hurdle, our Director of Finance, will present. Go ahead, Amy.
Thank you, Your Worship. So in finance, we've been busy working on the budget, as you all witnessed earlier today. So the meetings will obviously start in February, because we had one. Bank account reconciliations are done. Statutory payroll withholdings have been remitted. The T4s have been reconciled and submitted to our provider. These should be distributed soon, I would say by next week probably. And I think we can actually start accessing them digitally tomorrow. So just FYI. And we are getting ready for the next tax sale. It's on March 3rd, so coming up quickly. Wow. Yeah, that's very soon. Properties that were eligible for this were posted in mid-December. And there are currently, it's a smaller one, so there's currently 18 properties eligible for tax sale. So we're getting ramped up for that. And you see the service center stats rolled over to start 2026. Any questions, Your Worship?
Thank you very much, Amy. Any questions from council on that report?
It's just, if
Go
I
ahead.
could just ask, take the opportunity to emphasize the number of tax sales we have a year while we have folks in the gallery who would be interested in that. Can you talk about the last few tax sales we've had and how many properties?
Yeah, we usually have 2 a year. We're kind of into a cycle now where we have 2 a year, one in March, one in October. Most times we have 30 to 40. The spring ones are usually a little bit less, but we're starting to get caught up. So
Lots of interest and lots of properties sold.
Yes, absolutely.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Anyone else? Thank you, Amy. Appreciate your report. 6.4, Protective Services Department Monthly Report. Alan Cole, Director, you have the floor. Go ahead, Mr. Cole.
Thank you, Your Worship. The Protective Services Monthly Report starts at page 51 of Council's package. There's a brief description of a few of the disruptive weather events that occurred in January. Under Emergency Management Administration, there was the first meeting of the Emergency Management Advisory Committee in early February. That meeting was long overdue and is made up of members from 3 from the municipality, 2 from Amherst, and 1 from Oxford. Fire call-out numbers are at the bottom of that page in the chart, once adjusted for mutual aid. As you can see, Your Worship, the numbers are very much within the normal range. Medical calls and motor vehicle accidents accounting for the vast majority, approximately 60% or so. The individual call-out statistics are in the 2 tables that follow. The numbers there were 109 call-outs in January compared to 150 in December. The numbers are down somewhat, which is a good thing.
That's a good thing.
The Parsboro Volunteer Fire Department took delivery of their new rescue truck. A photograph of the truck is on page 53, Your Worship. That is has become the standard light rescue truck for our fire departments. And just as a information bit to council, that is representative of the 5th rescue truck that has been purchased and delivered to the municipality so far. In addition to that, we've had 1 pumper truck delivered to the Wallace Fire Department, and 2 additional trucks are on order, 1 for Pugwash and 1 for Spring Hill. The 2 tables containing the bylaw statistics are on page 54, Your Worship. Happy to answer any questions.
Thank you very much, Mr. Poe. Anyone have any questions on this report? Seeing none?
Comment?
Yeah, go ahead, sir.
Thank you, Your Worship. I just kind of wanted to highlight, again, for everybody's benefit, and everybody knows this, but I think it's worth talking about more, is that fully, even if you discount motor vehicle accidents, fully 38% of our calls are medical first responder calls. And there's certainly a strong argument to say that that is a provincial responsibility and one that EHS should be stepping up to, but our volunteers fill in the void, as do many across the province. And we bear those costs perhaps unfairly. So just thought I'd say that.
Your Worship?
Would you concur?
If I could follow up on that,
Go ahead, Mr.
Your
Poe.
Worship. That the CAO is absolutely correct, and it is a province-wide problem. The vast majority of our medical calls come from EHS on the basis that an ambulance is not nearby and is sometimes an hour away. And so the fire departments are the medical first responders that take on that role of rendering first aid to someone in distress. And it is indeed a provincial responsibility that the municipalities have the burden of upholding.
Just to complete that conversation, you know, and I think it's disproportionately on rural municipalities and in rural areas. We certainly don't have that same lack of availability to that degree in urban areas, and so I think it's disproportionate to the rural areas. I might be just generating a list of points for discussion with somebody who might be visiting tomorrow, so that's all.
Very much on point, Your Worship.
Yes, I completely agree too. Councillor Strong, go ahead.
Just a note to that EHS MFR services are very underfunded as well. So good luck with that.
Point taken. Anyone else? Seeing none, thank you very much, Mr. Pope. 6.5, Public Works Department Monthly Report. Mr. Walcross, Director. Justin, you have the floor when you get here.
Passive aggressive much?
Well, I note that the previous directors were all standing in queue waiting and you know, they're very close to the scene, and we have to wait for you to take a walk around the country before you get here. So.
Thank you for the opportunity to present my report, Your Worship. In the report, you'll see that I highlight some of the asset management activities that the department has been up to over the last year, and particularly as preparing the capital budget that was put forward to council for their consideration during our budget deliberations. We maintain the database and the tools all throughout the year as things change, get added, or are retired. We make sure to reach out to all the departments annually to collect all the changes they may have made to their facilities. We collaborate across departments this year to do a complete condition assessment of all of our sidewalk infrastructure. And we worked with AIM, the folks that create the tool, and worked with us in 2023 to create this database, to try the latest version of their asset management tools, and hosted in-house sessions with them to continue to develop our staff and our asset management practices. Lets us make intelligent, data-driven decisions in dialogue with the data, looking at what it brings forward, comparing it to our operational reality and applying technical expertise to it. And it makes our decisions for what's put forward for council's consideration and capital budgets data-driven and thoughtful. Under our public works operations, we've been very busy with winter road maintenance. It's, as Director Cole said, it's been busy with weather. Our staff have been performing admirably and will continue to do so until we get some warmer climes. Happy to take any questions council may have, Your Worship.
Thank you very much, Mr. Walkress. Anyone have any questions? Comments? I'm looking at the pothole repair cold patch item here. So is that, do you guys just watch for those things, or is that complaint-based from the public, or a bit of both, or how's that?
Your Worship, it would be a bit of both. We do try to keep our eye out, and if we observe something, we'll add some cold patch there. If receive a complaint from the public, whether by phone or through our complaint management system, we'll go investigate and, as warranted, make repairs, whether with gravel or cold patch, depending on the location and the weather at the time.
So the citizens that are watching this meeting today, if they were to complain about a pothole, where would they call? The main office number in Napan, and it would be dispatched from there?
That would be an excellent place to start.
Okay, thank you very much.
Would also add, Your Worship, that there's our citizen complaint service request portal on our website as well. Can be completed online and submitted online, all the details and location, and the person making the complaint or the service request can fill that out, and it makes its way seamlessly to our customer request and complaint system, and would be treated the same as a phone call. So there's multiple ways to do that.
Awesome.
Or you can email customer service at cumberland.ns.ca.
Thank you very much. Great information. Thank you.
Welcome.
Councillor Lee.
Your Worship, thank you. Just to follow up to those comments, and just to be clear, if people are going to complain about a pothole, Your Worship,
So
for the area.
thank you for the opportunity to clarify that. The municipality has the responsibility for roads and streets in the former towns of Spring Hill and Parsboro. It's a vestige of consolidation and dissolution, and we continue to have that responsibility, even though perhaps others don't. So complaints about roads and streets outside of the former towns should go to the Nova Scotia Department of Public Works.
Thank you very much. Lots of information for the public today. Thank you very much, Mr. Walkress.
You're welcome, Your Worship.
6.6, Recreation and Community Services Department Monthly Report. Ally McCormick, Director. Go ahead, Ally. I note that we didn't have to wait so long for you.
Thank you. Thank you, Your Worship. Included in your council package, you'll find the monthly report for Recreation Community Services Department, and I'll highlight a few items. First off, our summer recreation employment opportunities are now open. The positions that we are advertising include recreation supervisor, recreation leader, inclusion leader, recreation coordinator, and sports coordinator. And the deadline to apply for these positions is March 16th, so we encourage anyone who's interested in getting a fun summer job this year, go online and take a look at the information there. And if you have any questions, there's contact information to be able to speak to some of our staff. And we really hope to get another great complement of staff this year. The next, the deadline to submit the community volunteer celebration nominations is fast approaching. We're working really hard to get the word out to make sure that our dedicated volunteers across the municipality get the opportunity to be recognized during this really important evening celebration. So again, just wanting to draw attention to that. The deadline is February 27th. All the information about the awards, about the nominations can be found on our website as well. So again, really hope that folks take the opportunity to recognize a well-deserved volunteer in the community. And finally, just wanted to highlight a few really interesting courses and programs that we're going to be offering through our Learn to Lead program over the next couple of months. We're offering a self-defense course in River Hibbert on February 28th, basic first aid training on February 28th at the Tinish Community Center, a babysitting course in March 7th in Pugwash, and training to reduce workplace organizational violence in Wallace on March 24th. And anyone looking to find out more information about these programs, you can go on the Learn to Lead website. Again, it has all kinds of information there, and we're really eager to get these, excited to get these programs offered throughout the municipality. So happy to answer any questions from council.
Thank you very much, Ally. Any questions from council? Seeing none? Thank you very much. Yeah, I was gonna leave you, if you wanted, I'll just leave you right there and we'll do the next one for you with.
Actually, I have no contracts over it, so.
You're okay, well, I wasn't gonna give you a chance to speak about that just yet, but anyway. 7.2, Summer Recreation Brochure, 2026.
Thank you, Your Worship. I included the summer recreation brochure in council's package. I'm not going to be going into the details of it. We just wanted to use this as kind of our first launch of the summer recreation programs that we'll be offering this summer. We have a lot of exciting programs being offered again in Spring Hill, Parsboro, and Pugwash. And then we also are going to be continuing to offer our mini day camps in River Hibbert and some of our pop-up programs in communities like Wallace and Advocate and Tignish. So our recreation programmer, Nick Leopold's been working really hard to get this all organized this year. And again, we've had a lot of interest from kids around the county to take part in these programs. So we're really hopeful to get another high level of registrants again this year, and again, kind of tying back to the summer job opportunities. We had a really great group of staff last year that worked with us, and so we're hopeful to get those staff back, and also eager to work with some new folks as well. So I left it in the package just for more of an information item, but we'll be posting this on our website, and then we'll really start to get the ball rolling when the registration day gets closer, and we'll be pushing folks to to that website and to stay tuned for the opening day.
Awesome, thank you very much, Ally.
Thank you.
Appreciate that. You tapping that for a reason? Yeah. Okay, go ahead, sir.
Oh, yeah, waiting for you.
7.3, Nova Scotia, I thought you were going to comment on that report.
No,
You're all itchy to get on the next one.
Certainly not.
Speeding
No.
right along.
Certainly not.
7.3, Nova Scotia Power Rate information. Mr. Herrick, go ahead.
Very briefly, Your Worship, there's a letter in the package dated January 22nd from Nicholas McGuinness, who's the warden of the municipality of County of Benny regarding Nova Scotia power rate applications for the coming year, and I leave that for council's reading pleasure.
Thank you very much. Anyone else have anything else to add? Seeing none, I'll have to entertain a motion to adjourn. So moved by Deputy Mayor Gould. We are now adjourned. Thank you very much, folks. This has been a very long day.